What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having, the rock and roll beer guy himself. He's the great Eddy Torres, and I'm doing almsbury. But Eddie, what's going on, my man?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Thanks for having me on the show again.
Dude, I am super glad, and especially it had kind of been I don't know, percolating in my brain because the last time we did this was like it's weird because you could in any other year you could be like, oh, earlier in the year or whatever, but like earlier in the quarantine is a little bit more kind of apt, right? And we did it on Instagram Live, and it went into the ether, and that was even before Instagram started allowing you to save your lives. So like
Hmm.
we kind of predated kind of two forms of communication, but now we're here. This shit is live and in living color, and we get to do this again. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Cheers to you. I'm drinking some bourbon with some rocks in my Mastodon McKellar glass, which is pretty nice. I can't figure these cameras out. It's like backwards. There we go.
It is,
Yeah, it's
or even
reversed.
like looking at it. So I kind of invested in a laptop, and it's fucking dope. But figuring out where the camera is, like
Yeah, and
I'm
then it's
like,
odd because I got to look a little bit up, and then I can't look at your face, and I want to look at your face, but then I can't. You know what I mean?
that's what she said. Anyway,
Hey.
hey, that's my one per show. But or he said. I mean, depending on your persuasion and everything like that, because everybody is included here. But
Yeah, yeah,
fuck,
yeah, yeah.
man, uh, dude. I mean, you are lighting. I think the podcasting world on fire. We talked a
That's
little bit.
very kind of you.
Ah, fuck, man. I mean, it is some of my appointment listening to, and especially the last two. Oh my gosh. Oh fuck. I mean, Matt Pinfield. Oh well, I mean that wasn't. Was it the last two? It was Matt Pinfield
Actually,
and
yeah, no. The last two was Jesse Hughes of Eagles of Death Metal and Trevor Dunn of Mr. Bungle, which honestly surprised me in terms of viewership because, I love Mr. Bungle,
yeah.
one of my favorite bands of all time. But I really didn't expect there to be this many people into it too. And like now that they're back and they're doing shows and stuff, people are excited about it. So it was cool to have him on, and then Matt Pinfield before that. So yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. And then, I mean, the Jesse Hughes one, that one was like super fun, right? Because the setting was completely fucking different, right? Completely fucking different. And
Hmm.
I guess the openness of the leader of the Eagles of Death Metal, to uh, that was probably, I mean, that was to me what you can accomplish via the medium of podcasting. Like that right there is just like the piece de resistance.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons that people tune in. Like, when people get excited when they hear that, like, Alex Jones is going to be on the Rogan show. It's like there's a reason for that. Not everybody agrees with him, but they know that what we're about to watch is going to be crazy and fun, and at least funny. And that's what it was with Jesse. Man, he was great, very friendly. Invited me to his house. That was his house. That's where he lives. That setting that you saw, that's all his living room, and it's just covered in memorabilia and like random toys and books and guns. There were guns everywhere. There was like so the coffee table was just like um, just drinks, guns, bullets, and then like he had I guess made this table with a has a hole in it, and that's where he would just ash his cigarettes or joints or whatever into the table. It was very cool. But yeah, it was fun. He has a lot of controversial opinions that people hate on him for or love him for, and I enjoy everything. I enjoy everything. I'm one of those dudes that and then some people, I got called a Nazi sympathizer yesterday, I think, by one of my friends. I'm like, dude, I'm
Whoa.
not a why? Because I have friends that are, they think differently. Like, I want to help. I want to help bring that together. Like, we got to be together as people. How is that a negative thought that I want to keep people together? That's it. I don't know. It's weird.
No, and that's the thing right now, and especially at like this like really polarizing time in history. Now, obviously, in iterations of American history, they've existed before. We're talking obviously the Civil War, Jim Crow, all of these, these different times and polarizing times. But in our lifetime, if you're born of a certain age, this is the first time that we're getting this, and especially with the influx of like new ways of doing media and getting information and connecting with people. And it's just like people are deleting people and I'm not talking to you and everything like that. Doesn't matter what you feel, whatever. If you really want to be about actually,
Sorry, I'm trying to mute this.
oh, no worries, no worries.
I'm trying to
Um,
share our show right now to everybody, and I
oh yeah,
fucking blew
fuck
it.
yeah. No, no worries. But essentially, we all at some point have to get together. If you're really about making a country get, or a topic, and kind of working through all the bullshit, you kind of have to go like, okay, you may believe differently, I may believe differently. Where can we come to a common ground to be like whatever and institute some actual fucking change?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because look, man, a lot of people that I'm gonna just speak openly. Like a lot of people on my page, like, oh, if you're a Republican, you're a Nazi. I'm like, dude,
Hmm.
that's not true. That's not true because I know a lot of Republicans that are not. A lot of Republicans that are angry and upset with what is happening. And I'm not just going to put the blame solely on the president. It's just people around the president and people that are supporting him are of shitty mentality sometimes. But some of them are just Republicans, and we can work together. Look, I saw today a speech from George Bush, his secession speech when Clinton won. And I'm like, damn, dude, that is how you do it. He's
Hmm.
like, hey guys, congratulations to the new president. We're going to be there to help each other out. We have a lot of things to figure out. So we're going to work together to make this country, America first. And it's like, there you go. That's what you need to do. Do you think that's going to happen with Trump? Regardless of how you feel about him, do you think he's going to be like, way to go, Biden? And he's not going to. It's going to be chaos. I'm sure he's going to go kicking and screaming. And that's because he knows that brings in ratings.
Hmm.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I was telling my wife last night that the reason I think this is dragging out so long, all of these election counting the votes, it's good TV. We got nothing else going on. Everybody's locked down, so everybody's watching really good TV right now. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh, Georgia turned. Woo! It's a show. The country is now a show. We have our reality TV show president leading it. It's a show. That's all it is, and it's only gonna get crazier because that and I don't wish ill on Biden or anybody. I don't wish ill on anyone else, but Biden's old. So if he does win, we're not going to get a full 4 years, I don't think, out of that guy with how stressful that job is. You saw what it did to Obama's hair. Like, you see what the damage
Yes.
it does to people. You know what I mean? Biden's not going to last all 4 years if he becomes president. I think we're going to get Kamala in there, or Kamala. Sorry, Kamala.
Oh, not the Ugandan giant.
Not the Ugandan giant, no. Poor
Oh,
guy, man. Poor guy
yeah.
passed away. Was mistreated by the WWE. Unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, it's it's kind of crazy, right? Because obviously, this is pro wrestling as fuck, right?
Oh
This
yeah.
is
Well, we
this
got
is the
our
gold.
president is a Hall of Famer from
Oh
WWE.
yeah, the Hall of Famer. Actually, you know what? I'll take it back to 2016. Do you know? So I had like this fucking side splitting migraine. Called in from work, but I was like, fuck, I'm gonna do my damn American duty, and I'm gonna go fucking vote, right? I'm gonna go fucking vote, and then I took like shit tons of like medication, and I fucking clunkered off, right? I arise, with like everybody in turmoil and whatever, but like I'm like, you know what? Fuck all this shit. I'm gonna sidestep and whatever. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in wrestling, right? So I went on Raja.com, the same fucking site that I've been going to get like, fucking B-sides of whatever happened on the Wrestling Observer and shit like that. And
Mhm.
it says WWE Hall of Famer elected 45th president of the United States. So that's exactly how I found out through a wrestling fucking news site. So there's that.
Hey, good. Fuck it. I mean, I know that what's going to happen either in 2024 or 2028 or maybe whenever the hell, like if they just get rid of the electoral system for some reason. We're gonna get The Rock versus Kanye West at some point in a presidential election. I think it's gonna be the WrestleMania moment of the year.
And that's literally like, I mean, Vince will never die, right? So I mean, theoretically,
Not if they keep feeding him blood bags. They just keep bringing in fresh blood. That's all he needs. Plug me in.
That's what I need, pal.
Remember the,
That's good shit.
look at his physique. Look at this trapezius muscles.
So vascular.
Wow. Amazing.
Fucking, like I yearn for the days of like what a maneuver. Like
what a maneuver. The fucking, I love the vascular. It's so vascular. Oh, Jesus
dude,
Christ.
I mean, I really wonder at times how, like, Chris Masters slept, slipped through the crack. Yes, he had 2 runs, but like they weren't as notable as it should be. But like Jinder fucking Mahal, man.
I'm just kidding. What are you talking about?
Oh Jesus! Hopefully, I can get that guy on the podcast. But anyway, I mean, but
Jinder Mahal. Yeah.
I actually did one of those reface apps and shit like that, and yeah, apparently my face on Jinder Mahal's body. Somebody actually pointed it out. It looks like Uptown Andy Brown of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So there's
okay. There you go. That could be one of your characters on your show. You just, if you can figure out how to do it live with the Jinder Mahal moving and you talking. I'm gonna go ahead and dig into this thing right here. This is a
yes. And what are we indulging in, good sir?
This is an Oasis cannabis infused peanut butter cup with 80 milligrams of THC and 2 milligrams of CBD. This was given to me by the wonderful Gino over at LA Speedweed during my time at the Comedy Store this past Monday, which I've been spending a lot of time there recently.
Whoa, at the Comedy Store?
Yes, sir.
Say what?
Yeah, I've been trying to, before the pandemic, I had an idea for a show, and it was going to be me and Johnny Scortis of the Store Horsemen. And we talked to them, and we had time booked and everything. They're like, "Hey, we're going to do a show there. That they're going to let us do the first pilot for free." Like this whole thing, it was great. And then the pandemic hit, and they shut down for a while. And so now they're opening up certain nights of the week, doing window shows out front in the front patio. Kill Tony is still happening on the patio every Monday. So I just started going again and hanging out with everybody and just kind of like, all right, let's rebuild. I still want to do a show. I still want it to be linked to comedy somehow. And I want to keep the RRBG going, but I also want to have something else. I want to keep. My brain works in this really bad way. Like I was doing some meditation the other day about how I never feel like I feel that I have to be productive all the time, and it's kind of not damaging, but it's not healthy. I mean, I can't enjoy time off. Like I can't go hang out with my boys and not think like I should be doing something that's towards that, towards the podcast or creating something. Or hey, like if I'm hanging out with the boys, I'm like, hey man, anybody, let's set up some mics, or like, hey, let's jam. Anybody got an instrument? Like I feel like it has to be productive, and while that's great and all, it can suck. Like I can't even really fully enjoy having a walk with my dog because I feel like all right, hurry up and poop so I can get back to work.
Well, I mean, that is something that has definitely served you well. And I was actually, funny enough, I was watching the documentary of the, man, I'm blanking on his name, but he is essentially and have a happy trip, by the way. But the father of Juan or Lin Manuel Miranda, the guy from Hamilton, like his father. And that dude is like fucking always on. Like the shit that he's been able to do in his lifetime, I was just like, fuck, I'm sitting on the fucking couch, dude. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But then again, I go on fantastic fucking wormholes, right? Like, yeah, like wasn't doing anything for the during the pandemic, and then fucking July, went on a couple podcasts that was doing this fucking StreamYard shit, and they were like, yo, like, why don't you fucking do this shit? And I was like, yeah, maybe I fucking will. And I've got 200 plus episodes since July.
Nice. That's a lot. I'm
Hey,
not even at 200.
I don't know, man. But I mean, it's like I want to be that person, like in terms of like stories, right? And I think this is where you come in. This is where podcasting comes in. Any form of media that you kind of get to do, but especially the ones like non-produced and that you essentially get to do free form and like no formats and all any of that shit. Like people have a story, right? So if you've got some sort of platform, you could essentially go in and fucking find out people's story,
Yeah.
right? Go and then you start looking around, almost like you looking for projects, and like, oh wait, you have a story, and then all this shit is like, I'm not fucking doing enough, right? Like that's kind of my
Well,
gimmick.
that's the wormhole you fall in when you start doing this shit. You want to do more. And especially if you're a driven person or you have that creativity in you, because some people don't. Some people don't give a shit. Like I have friends of mine, close personal friends from 25-year friendship, don't give a flying fuck that I have a podcast. Don't listen to a single episode because they don't care. They don't even care about that. Hey, I was hanging out with the dude from Mastodon. They're like, who? All right, you're right. And I like keeping friends like that around because it keeps me in check. Like, hey, don't let it get to your head. Just because you're doing these things, like somebody doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Somebody does
Hi,
not
honey.
care what you're doing.
Hi, honey. Like
Yeah.
that's mine. And
Mm.
Jesse Velasquez says, "Damn, that would be wild." And Kanye already got votes. Like that motherfucker literally got like 60,000 votes. That's like,
I will say something though. I saw a statistic online. Apparently, last election, somebody wrote in "D's nuts,"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it got 6% of the vote. So D's nuts got more votes than Kanye West.
I love that. I love that
Just
you
saying.
stole. I love that you uttered that. Hell yes. And it's funny because I mean, on this like speaking of wormholes, right? Like you just consumed that nice Oasis deal. So I didn't really, yeah. So I didn't really partake in. I mean, growing up in Inglewood, like half American descended of slaves, and then half Fijian, right? So you've got island culture, and then ADOS culture, where people will just assume, hey, you smoke weed, you're from Inglewood, you're a gangster, whatever. So I stayed away from all of it, right? Up until, oh Lord, oh, it was the first kind of credentialed thing that I did for Bellator. Bellator had one of the casino shows. I think it was like Morongo or Pachanga, one of those like native casinos here in SoCal, right? And um, I went to, I don't know if we, I don't want to name names or whatever, but like essentially a person, a close personal friend of mine, who's a fighter. He was sponsored by a particular edible company, Cushy Punch,
Oh,
right?
I know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, 25 milligrams, right? Just like one square. And my only thing was like, and having not smoked weed, just kind of drinking occasionally and whatever, I knew that Joe Rogan said that Joey Diaz has a Death Star and that's 500 milligrams, and that's way too much. So I'm like, 25, that's way fucking less, right? So pop one in, da da da, whatever. And we go on our way to fucking Morongo. Do you know what happened? I fucking ended up under the, as Michael C. Williams says, under the Bellator cage. Fucking, I don't know what happened. It was like 10 hours of like, I almost went fucking Hunter S. Thompson, fear and loathing, but I wasn't really loathing. I can't remember. I might have like belligerently ran into Kendall Grove and shit like that, but like, I still don't know for sure what the fuck happened, but all I know is like this dude, he literally was like, "Hey, where the fuck are you?" After, and then I wake up to when I figured out how to use what my phone was and how to use it, because it took me about 45 minutes to figure that out. But essentially, what happened was he goes like, "I'm leaving," and I was like, "Oh shit, let me get my shit together." And I was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's just fucking dark. There's canvas, there's wood, and everything like that." And he's just like, "I'm by the cage." So I literally fucking barrel rolled, right? And I rolled out, and apparently I was under the cage the whole fucking time, like 8 to 10 hours.
What?
So yeah,
But that was just from a cushy punch 25 milligram gummy.
yeah, Yeah, I'm a fucking lightweight, dude. I'm just
Yeah, I
saying.
mean, I guess, yeah, no, it's look, I guess if you're not used to it, yeah, it can fuck you up. Like my wife doesn't do it. I took her to a show once. We went to go see Thrice, and my buddy had a tray of brownies that he had made with weed in it, and I had a brownie. Everybody had a brownie. And then she's like, "Let me just get a little." I broke off a piece of the corner of the brownie, just a little piece, like a little bite. I gave it to her. She took a bite, and then we went inside of the show. During the concert, I look over, and she's on the floor, and I'm stoned out of my mind. The band's blaring, and I look at my buddy. I'm like, "Oh, Ariel's down, man," and he looks at me. He goes, "Down for what?" No, she's down on the floor. I just turn around, pick her up, and then she woke up and she was fine. But like the brownie just knocked her out, and like you woke up underneath a fucking Bellator ring. That's insane.
Yes, absolutely. And the best part of it was the fact that we didn't have a car at the time, and I had to get the shit together to fucking go to work the next day. Like I came in about like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, up at 7 to fucking go back to work, and we didn't have a car at the time, so we Ubered. And what I would do is like my wife and I would Uber our kid to school, and then there was a bus stop there, and I would fucking go on my merry way, right? In the middle of the fucking Uber, I sneezed, and that shit was Celine Dion as fuck, and it was all coming back to me now. I was like, oh fuck. And she looks over at me. It's like, it fucking kicked in, didn't it? And I was like, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I was still the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a high tolerance. I try and keep it at about 40 milligrams on the weekends. I don't try and go too crazy anymore. I used to go crazy, but I reserve it for like once or twice a year. And it was usually NAM season. Whenever NAM was happening in Anaheim, I had people flying in from all over the world, buddies, homies that are in town for NAM, and it's kind of a shit show because you have to schedule like everybody, like you want to see all your friends, but not all your friends are together, so you gotta like, hey, I'm gonna go see this guy, I'm gonna go over there and see this guy, and it's kind of chaos. But every time I run into a group, they had something else, so I was like, hey man, here's a flask with whiskey. I'm like, oh sweet. Take a chug, give it back, and go to the next group like, hey man, I have this pen, you want to smoke? I'm like, yeah, totally. Hit the pen a couple times, and then from that it just keeps evolving, like, hey man, I got these shrooms. I'm like, oh, uh, maybe later. I'll take them. Thanks. I'll put them in my pocket. And then, from there, I start collecting. Like, I get to a certain point where I'm like, if I keep drinking or smoking, I am not going to be coherent enough to talk to the people I need to talk to. Because, aside from saying hi to all the friends that are there, I'm also trying to do work with the podcast and trying to like interview people and get some people for the show. And so it's just constant chaos. And like I said, every group has something else, and I end up with a jacket just full of everything. So then the conclusion is usually, all right, guys, well, it's 6. Where are you headed? Like, oh, we're going to the Hilton. Great. I have some friends. They have a penthouse suite. Meet me there. I got to unload everything from my jacket so we can party.
Oh fuck.
It's
Oh man.
insane.
But I
Insane.
mean that makes, and Jesse Velasquez says that's wild. So basically, kids, don't do drugs.
Don't do
I mean,
drugs.
fuck. I mean, I was all about the whole like dare shit until I saw like prescription thugs, and I was like, oh man, we got fucked.
Yep. Yep. It's okay to push Ritalin and Adderall and methadone and all kinds of other pills on kids. It's fine because the doctor says so. But some little herbs from the ground and some mushrooms are terrible. I mean, hell, congratulations to Oregon for legalizing psilocybin therapy. Like that's going to be a game changer. I don't know if they should have completely decriminalized all drugs because I don't think people should be walking around with heroin in their pocket.
Yeah.
But fine. I mean, whatever. At least the psilocybin one, I think that's a good move for everyone. Even especially if you're doing it under good controlled situations. Like I hope they don't just give you psilocybin in some cold fucking hospital room. You know what I mean? Set up a nice room with a couch and some movies and fucking give someone some mushrooms and they'll have a life-changing experience. Something that'll make them look inward a little bit more and more compassionate and get rid of some of that anxiety, get rid of some of that mental stress that you maybe you're holding on from your childhood that you don't fucking need. You know, it's just there from the trauma. You know, it's weird. I need to do some shrooms soon because I need to get rid of some PTSD I got at my last job.
Oh, I mean that fucking. I mean it works, but you know what I think is gonna be up, and one thing that most people don't realize, especially in like the state of Oregon, there's gonna be fucking chupacabra and troll fucking sightings like a motherfucker. Like motherfuckers are gonna be seeing the
Aliens,
hobbit.
dude.
Oh yeah,
Aliens.
fuck yeah, dude. It's gonna be awesome. You know, it's just gonna
I
what?
saw aliens, man. Yeah, Oregon. I mean, I really hope that Oregon flourishes into something beautiful, but there's a very high possibility that it becomes a town. It becomes the next town for Fallout, like the video game. It's just
Oof.
going to be desert and wasteland, and a couple of mutants and raiders walking around like, hey, man, you got any shrooms left? I'm like, nope, all out, sir.
So essentially, what you're saying is, they'll be out here in the field. They fight for their meals. Like, is that? Are we fucking quoting Baba O'Reilly? That's what we're
Yeah,
doing right
yeah,
now.
yeah, totally.
And Jesse says that shit's worse. Fuck, it's prescribed.
Fuck that, it's
Absolutely,
just prescribed.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
It's
I
weird.
mean, look, psilocybin mushrooms in a small dosage can help you. Obviously, don't trip out. Like, don't eat like 8 grams or some ridiculous thing like that. That's what kids will do, man. That's what I did when I was younger and stupid. You know, people were like, "Hey, I got mushrooms, give me," and just eat all of it. Now, at least now that I've tried them all and have kind of broken it down, I know how much of what I should have before I am unable to function as a human. You know.
I think that's fair. That's fair. You know, everything comes in waves and growth, and I mean, a feigned a sense of maturity, right? But I mean, speaking of all things maturing, dude, fuck this
You too, man.
podcast.
Look at my gray
Yeah,
hairs.
there you go.
Maturing.
Yeah,
You're saying the podcast?
the fucking podcast, dude. It's dope as shit. One of my favorite fucking. I mean, like it's appointment watching and listening. Um, but how the fuck did it start, dude?
Okay, so I mean, honestly, I spent a lot of years working in the beer industry and just showing up at concerts with beer. Basically, like that was my thing. I'd contact somebody that I knew from a show. Hey, you're in town. You want me? Can I swing by? You know, I'll bring a cooler full of beer. And they're like, "Fuck yeah, I'll put you on the list." Great. So I started doing that little by little, and meeting people, and um, eventually I ran into Adam D from Killswitch Engage at the brewery, and he and I became quick friends. We made the Killswitch beer together, and then short like when the beer was to be announced, I started thinking like, man, I want to do something big to announce this. And I had always had a thing about podcasts. I was listening to Rogan, I was listening to other, Chris Jericho and wrestling podcasts all the time. And it was fun. And I was a guest on a couple podcasts, like my buddies at Beers, Bros, and BS gave me they were like, hey, come on and be a guest. I'm like, all right, great. Yeah, sure. And then my buddies started another podcast called the Bit Gen, and I was a guest on that. And I was like, you know what? This is something I think I want to do. I want to try podcasting, and I looked online for some equipment that I needed to get and to make it work, and called up Adam, and I was like, hey, I want to announce the beer, but can we do it on a podcast? I'm going to start a podcast. Like, yeah, I'm like, I'll call the brewer, the guy that, our buddy David from Cigar City, who was helping us actually brew the beer. Because it was Adam and I's idea, but obviously we needed a brewer. I'm not a professional brewer, so I wanted to get somebody on board. And it was David, who now lives out here. He was working with Noble Ale Works. I don't know where he's at now. Anyway, um, so I was trying to that then the idea came. I recorded the conversation. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. We just talked for an hour, and then I was trying to come up with a name to figure out the name of it. And my buddy was, you should call it the Rock and Roll Beer Guy because you're at all the shows with beer, and then you go to the rock and roll shows with beer. I'm like, perfect. That's it. That's just cheesy enough to work, I think. Like it's cheesy, but I like it. I don't, and I grew up with cheesy shit like that all the time. So I'm an '80s and '90s kid. I can't fight it.
It's a fucking cool generation to be in. I think. I mean, it's weird. Like we're just coming off of like just talking about like how we consume music, right? I mean, fucking tapes. Like we kind of grew up with like tapes and kind of a tinge of like even like 8 tracks you could still find at like Salvation Armies and shit like that. Like I remember listening. I actually breaking into like my uncle's kind of stash and finding Kish Destroyer on an 8 track, and I was just like, still to this day, like that's. I mean, I nothing compares to listening to fucking Kiss Destroyer on an 8 track with all the bumps and ticks. Like that is like the optimal experience. Now,
You
of
think
course,
so?
there's yeah. Well, I mean, for that time and like and maybe it was just like oh I felt like Indiana Jones and we were literally in Indiana, right? And I'm fucking going into the fucking basement of my grandma's house and finding my uncle and dad's secret lair and shit like that. And yeah, dude, it's like that
Nice.
was dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, fuck, you almost had a secret power, right? Because like fucking beer and rock stars,
I
and
mean,
actually,
it made look. It was. I'm not trying to self-deprecate too much, but it wasn't really me. It was the beer that was attractive to a lot of these people, which is fine. I'm okay with it. I just want to have a good time. You know what I mean? And as long as you let me be a part of it, I'll bring beer. I'll bring whatever you want. And the more shit I get, the more I share. Like one of the things about the podcast is that I've got a lot of brands that'll hit me up to sponsor the show, and I'm like, just send me stuff and I'll share and create a better experience. Like Saints Joints. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna go hang out with DJ Lethal. I don't know how that happened, but like, I'm gonna go hang out with DJ Lethal, and he's like, oh my god, I'm a big fan of DJ Lethal. I'm like, great, send me joints. Send me a bunch of joints, and I'll go over there and I'll film us smoking and holding your packaging. And hey, look, you have an ad for your brand using DJ Lethal, who you're a fan of. Like, it's cool shit like that you can only do with the podcast or that kind of, doing it on your own. It's like what company, like, Starbucks isn't doing DJ Lethal joint commercials. Like that's not happening. So but it's just been crazy. It's been a crazy roller coaster of just trying to what's next? What's the next thing? Like, well, how can I make a bigger episode? Like, I need bigger guests. I don't know. Start another show. Start a TV show. Like, we're going back to what we were talking in the beginning of. Like, that's where my head's at these days. Like, I still have a day job and I still have to go to work every day, 8 hours a day, and I love it. But eventually, I want the other stuff to make enough money so that I can not have a day job and then just dedicate my entire time to making more shit somehow.
I fucking love it. And again, that's what you kind of want to do, right? The betterment of anything. And I think you're a fan of Rogan. I'm a fan of Rogan, and for me, when I heard he got that Spotify deal, $100+ million, right? I was just like, okay, cool, because that is what you can essentially earn if you could put 10 years into something, and that's what he did with obviously Young Jamie now and Red Band before, but just like fucking around with friends and giving opportunity. Like you were talking about like Hinchcliffe and some of the Comedy Store comics. Well, I mean when the JRE experience fucking, I mean the JRE podcast fucking started, a lot of those fucking people were banned from such places. So
Mm-hmm.
like that almost gave new life. And again, if you are somebody that wants to create in this space, like this is the best time for you. But you also have to kind of figure out a way, like the way that I kind of figured it out was like, okay, that's Rogan, $100 million. Well, I don't have the name that he is. I'm not a UFC commentator. I wasn't on news radio. Still, one of my favorite fucking sitcoms of all time is News Radio.
News radio
Uh,
rules, man. I love
yeah,
it.
fuck yeah, and I'm not on Fear Factor, right? So I have to work 5 times as hard as Rogan to get maybe 5% of what Rogan has. But I'm
Right.
going to put in 10 years, and that's it. So I've got that in my head. Now shit might be like, yeah, I want to feature on this and whatever. Like it's all the process, but I mean it's figuring it out. And essentially this kind of medium, right? Before YouTube, before Facebook, before I mean Facebook didn't even have live features. Same thing with Instagram. When we did the last one of these right together, we were
Yeah.
doing on Instagram, and Instagram didn't even fucking save your shit. That shit went
Yeah.
into the ether and never to be seen again, right? So I mean, because we have that opportunity and the access that we are earning to a large extent, It's just like, what the fuck are we gonna do with it? We're gonna share with our fucking friends, and that's
Mm.
what we do.
Yeah, and that's what makes it grow. That's what makes it better. And this is something I wanted to talk about on the show earlier because we were talking about it before we started filming this. Is that we do focus on, we tend to focus on like the celebrity, right? The person. Like you think about Rogan, and some people tend to only think about Rogan. Like let's focus on what Rogan did, and he was on this, and he was on that, and he did this, and he did that. That's great. But what's most important to me personally is the team that surrounds him. Because every one of them, every single celebrity every successful person that has a squad. That's it. There's a team involved. There's just, Rogan's got young Jamie, and he's got Redman, and he's got, Gino from Speedweed. I consider those people part of his crew. Uh, Anybody that sponsors him, that's when they're sponsored by those brands, a lot of like Rogan does, it's because you become friends with these people, and that's your squad, and you guys help each other out, like promoting, and you give me the product, and I'll put it on the show, or you got an album coming out, get on the show, let's promote it, like that's the whole idea behind podcasting. I think is that community aspect, which I used to get a lot of when I used to work in the beer industry, because the beer industry, it was in the beginning in Miami when I was there. I mean, there was a scene already there. I'm not saying I invented craft beer in Miami, not at all. There was fresh beer, and all the dudes, the OG dudes, and Adam Fine and Ray Nicholas and all these dudes, Chris Montelius, they had a little community. It was a small crew, and then I was traveling and seeing like all these other brands like that were not available in Miami, craft beer brands, and then they were already distributing some of these. I'm like, let's grow this. Let's do events. Let's fucking, I'm gonna do a tap takeover over here. Like that's how I ended up getting the job at Cigar City Brewing, because not because what I did was so revolutionary or anything. It was just kind of like, hey, let's party. You have all these amazing beers. The brewery is themed in a tropical kind of way. Cuban. There's cigars, so let's have a cigar roller. Let's fucking we'll bring some Cuban food in from a local restaurant, and we'll do catering with that. People can have food, and then I'll bring my fucking espresso machine from home, and I'll make cafecito for everyone. You know, and we'll have people dancing on stage. We'll do salsa dancing. Like let's do that, like that kind of shit. And it's simple shit, just put shit together. And we did this amazing event that sold out the World of Beer we were at. And we had 55 different beers on. People were eating, people were drinking coffee, smoking cigars outside. And the brewery's like, "You want to work for us?" I'm like, "Yes." "Yes, sir. Let's go. This is why I did all of this. Um, so I don't even know. I went off on a tangent, but
No,
I,
that's
I
great.
I think it's about promoting each other and growing as a team. Okay, that was the point. Is that we focus on like the star or the brand, and it's not just the brand; it's always the team. Every band, look, you look at Killswitch Engage, for example, huge band, and people only acknowledge the band members, because obviously they're the ones in the front, they're in the camera, they're in the videos, but they have a crew, man. There's a crew. Everybody has their own technician that works with them, that tunes their guitars, that makes sure that all their shit's working. The people that load up the stage hands, production companies. There is a team involved, and people need this. The social media these days has given people this false illusion that they're going to become a celebrity on their own, and it's not like that. It's not. You're not going to become a celebrity on your own, and you may not become a celebrity even if you have a squad, because you just may not have it. And that's just what it is. But I want to work to create an environment and bring acknowledgement to the fact that it isn't just the celebrity. It's a whole team effort between all of us. Let's help each other out. We're all humans, and we're all trying to do cool shit. That's it. That's all I got.
No, I love it. And I mean, I guess the scenarios and examples that we were talking about off air was like Walter Cronkite,
Hmm.
Howard Stern, and Joe Rogan. And again, all of them have their kind of.
Yeah, Stern has the freaks, and Robin and Baba Booey, and everybody that's a part of that show. Cronkite, I'm sure, had his whole crew as well. Like everybody that is successful. Like even if you want to break it down even smaller, you look at from Rogue, we're looking at Rogan and whatnot. You look at one level down, and you got Tony Hinchcliffe, and he's got his crew of people and his band from Kill Tony, and people that hang out backstage with him at the shows, and Rick Cossack from Jackass is hanging out at every Kill Tony show, just filming and taking pictures, and he's working on the next Jackass movie. So like, it's just this interwoven, web of people just working together and doing shit. Like, that's where we need to be. We need to that's why I hang out at the store, because I feel like I want to help them. I want to bring whatever I can bring to the table, and be a part of this growth, because a lot of people want to bring it internally. And it's like, what can I do? Do I need to show my ass? Like, what do we got to do? Am I going to take feet pictures? Like, what needs to happen for me to be famous? And it's like, no, that's not what we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on growing everybody together.
No, 100%. And Jesse says, yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. 100%.
I agree, brother.
I I love that the theory. I just hate so the presentation. The first time I heard that kind of phrasing was like I was working at a it was actually a hardware store, right? And it was, I mean, it's now defunct. Like, fuck, I can say it. It's Orchard, right? Orchard was what working for Orchard in Pasadena, California, and you could already see. Like, I got out like maybe a year or two before everything fucking went under, and I was like a kind of a floor manager and shit like that. But every time the fucking management, upper level management, would say or do some scandalous shit, or like, hey, go fucking somebody fucking shit it all over the bathroom. Teamwork makes the dream work. So maybe it was like that fucking scenario that was like
Mm,
that.
yeah, it got co-opted by a lot of corporations for that mentality. Yeah, I get it. But you got to take it back, man. You just take it back. That's our shit. Like, we're gonna make the teamwork make the dream work. Like, look, I see it, and I'm thankful for the very minimal MMA training that I have, that gave me that discipline to know that it's not about just me. Like, and the fighters always think about it. People watch UFC and only think about, oh, Conor McGregor, oh, John Jones, oh, whatever. They have a team, and whenever they have a mic, what's the first thing they do? I want to thank my coach. I want to thank my team, my dudes back here. Without them, I'm not here, and that's what it is, man. That mentality. Like, you need a coach. And I talked about this the other day. I think with Art and Jacob, they put me on as a guest too, and I was saying the same thing, which is, you have to have coaches, and sometimes you may not even realize that you have coaches, like, just people in your life. Like, right now, I'm wearing a shirt, Barnett. Barnett's my coach, dude. He doesn't know it. He doesn't call me coach. Like, I don't call him coach. He doesn't acknowledge me as a student, but he and I hang out, and we're friends, and I learn from him every fucking day whenever we hang out. Like, whenever we're together, he starts talking, we talk to each other, I'm learning. And I consider that a coaching. You know what I mean? And Tony Hinchcliffe, we're friends, but also when I'm hanging out and seeing him work, I'm taking notes. I'm sitting in the back like, okay, yeah, great, you're right. And then just that, you give yourself coaches. You don't, what I mean? It doesn't have to be literal. Like, you don't have to go to a school and like, I want you to be my coach. Like, no, just find someone that you find inspiring, that you see that is being successful in their life, and that could be your coach. I don't know. That's the way I see it. That's how I get motivated.
No, 100%. And I mean, and Jesse says it's still a team sport, even if there's only one person there. 100%, hundred
Hmm.
percent. And it's weird. So let's talk about Barnett a little bit, because obviously, I mean, he is somebody that you and I consider a friend, but I mean, he's a fucking literal legend, the fucking former babyface assassin, now the War Master.
Still kicking ass in
Yeah, that
Poland.
fucking fight in Poland was like I fucking messaged him and I was like, fucking great fight, and he messaged me back and whatever, and he was like, I wish I got a KO, and I was like, you might have knocked the fucking tattoo off of that dude. That didn't get a response, but even still, but I mean, obviously, what does that dude not just like mean to you personally, but in that is a walking legend of the sport of MMA, a purveyor of British catch wrestling, and you, like you said, have very minimal MMA training, as do I. I mean, me and Jesse here are kind of teammates 2 years removed. Like we were both training at Fight Academy under Savant Young and Heinrich
Mm.
Wassemer, but 2 years removed from each other. He's there now. I was there like 2, 3 years ago. Right. So what is that? What has Barnett done? I mean, what does he mean to you personally? And then what do you think he means to the sport of MMA?
Oh well, dude, he's a legend of the sport. Anybody that would say otherwise is, I think, completely out of their mind. People want to talk shit. There's a lot of people talking shit, like, oh, he juiced for whatever, or he got popped for this, and it's like, guys, a lot of that was just tainted supplements. You're not even looking into it. You're just kind of reading the clickbaity fucking headlines. But anyway, even with that, the guy has been a legend to the sport, and I've been a fan of the sport for a very long time, since UFC one, when it was still, no rules, no weight classes, no gloves. So I appreciate what he's done for the sport, his victories, his little bit of infusion of pro wrestling into the world of UFC and MMA, where the character style that he's the war master. He would go out there, like that. That made it exciting. And kind of made it what it is today. Like now you got people like the McGregors and the people. Oh, everybody's trying to be a character now, and Barnett was one of the first people to do that kind of stuff in MMA and UFC. So I appreciate him for that. When I met him, I didn't fanboy out, but I was kind of like, wow, here's a fighter that I really admire. He's one of the top dudes at the time. He was young and unbearded, and I thought, here's a really great MMA guy to meet. And it was just, take a picture. Hey, what's up? Awesome. I appreciate you. But then we kept running into each other at shows. I kept running into him at Killswitch shows, or running into him at Cannibal Corpse, or like, hey, I'm wearing a Mars. Hey, what's up, War Master? Hey, run into him at the Behemoth show, and it just kept happening over and over. And we were like, just hang out. Like I hit him up, like, you want to sit down for chat and podcast, and yeah, and then I got to know that he's into anime and he's into video games and he's a nerd inside, like I am. He reads sci-fi fiction and cyberpunk, and it was just kind of like, wow, okay, so it's a lot more than just this meathead sports guy. Like he's cultured and he reads and he knows things, and that's what made me like, wow, okay, now we can be friends for sure. Because I know a few other fighters, but a lot of them, that's all they do. Like I train all day, training in the gym. I eat dinner, then I go back to the gym, then I eat again, then I hang out with my wife, and then I eat some more, and then I train some more. And it's like, that's cool, good for you. Do your thing. I can't be friends with you. Like, what? I'm not a professional fighter. I'm not going to be in the gym with you 12 hours a day. I'm sorry. But Barnett is somebody like we can go grab lunch and talk about anime for a couple hours. Like I like that. So he's become a really good friend, and I've been using whatever resources I have to try and do shit with him. Like we did the burger at Grill 'Em All,
Mm-hmm.
and then we did an event. I did an event with Tony and the Store Horseman, and the what was it, Storecade at the Comedy Store, where they did pro wrestling live at the main room. And I arranged for that barn. Like, hey, have Josh be a guest commentator on one of the matches, and they're like, yeah, okay. And then I call Josh, I'm like, hey, you want to do this? Like, yeah, okay. And then boom, it happens, and now we're doing a wrestling show with Josh as a guest. And every time I get an opportunity like that, I want to mix people up. Like I know brewers, so hey, Josh, you want a beer? You want to make a beer under your name? Like, he's like, yeah, totally. So now we're working on that. He's got his bourbon, so why not have a beer and maybe do like a barrel aged version with his bourbon? Things like that. So not only is he a good friend, he's a coach, and I think uh, we can collaborate and do really cool shit together at some point. I hope. And the same goes for everybody else that I know, man. It's I hate pining on Barnett. He's a good friend, but like also there's other people, man. There's Tony and the Kill Tony show. I've had the band, like I took the band to go hang out with DJ Lethal. Like I want to connect those dots. You know what I mean? I want everybody to just hang out and web it all together.
No, but that's fucking powerful, dude. And again, it's like building a team,
Yeah.
and being able not to, because most people can see it like, oh fuck, like you have that gas and whatever, but not realize like, you know, you're bringing something to the table as well, right? And then everybody, and you're there not for, I guess the kids would say clout, right? But you're
No,
there to just
clout
like,
means nothing to me. It's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. It's like
It's respect is what you want. You don't want clout. You want respect.
no, 100%. And then that is something that you're doing, and it's fucking crazy because what you're doing. It's funny because like some people will just have like MMA podcasts, right? Or uh, just whatever, right? And
Hmm.
then when they have a guest of something else, right, out of that genre, then they're like, oh fuck, it doesn't fit the format, and I've already grown this thing. One thing that you've done, and I try to do to a lesser extent, is it's like you're the rock and roll beer guy, but that could fucking span into what wrestler, what fighter doesn't like rock and roll or beer or fucking and you can have whatever. And that's the same thing with A. It's like this shit is according to what's like whatever I feel is fucking cool. I think you should fucking find out about it too. Let's fucking bring this shit together, and that's it. And like, like you and the fucking Keyboard Wars MMA podcast and Verbal Tap with Ralph Esparza, like there are so many before me. Like most people at 4 years in, they're like, "Oh, you're fucking, like you're an OG." But I'm like, there's so many fucking people before me, and then even before a generation before that, you had like Spencer Lazara and fucking even Karen Bryant and Megan O'Leary start off not too far from what we're fucking doing now.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, dude, it's all about putting in work, and I'm like we were saying it earlier. I'm blessed and grateful that I have that drive and that like let's make more shit. Let's make more shit. But it can also be kind of draining sometimes when you're like just trying to enjoy a walk with your dog or trying to just have some time off. And with so much going on, like you turn on the second you wake up, you look at your phone and there's like chaos. That's all it is. It's just chaos. The elections are chaos, and the planet is dying, and you're being shadow banned on social media, and it's nonstop what's happening in the world. If you're a creative person, or not even creative, if you're just trying to do something, you end up having to you have to sync up to that frequency, right? You know what I mean? If you want to be in the frequency, then you have to sync up. You have to tune the radio to that station, and that station's going full blast. So if you want to keep there, you gotta be there. You gotta be part of that. And it's it's a matter of choice, really. Like how much do you want to do? How much you got to figure out the limit. I don't, and I've had trouble with that. Mel. You know what I mean? Like, where's the limit? Where do we stop? Um, but find it for yourself, and it's different for everyone. For me, I have like I know now where I stand with certain things. Like how much booze can I drink? How late can I stay out? How should I be hanging out with these people? Like that's a question that nowadays is becoming more and more prevalent. Like, should I be hanging out with these people? Should I be associating? Because there's an old Cuban saying, "Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres," which is I believe in a lot. And it's like, tell me who you're hanging out with, and I'll tell you who you are. So yeah, because if you're hanging out with a certain group, then that means you agree with them, or at least at the very least you get along with them. You have some similarities. Unless you're like me, where I like to hang out in every group because I like getting all of the different energies, all of the frequencies. I'm a frequency hog. I like to feel negativity sometimes. It's weird. And I think a lot of metalheads, and a lot of comedians, and a lot of UFC fighters and MMA fighters will agree that there's like an attraction to that, like rage and violence, and like maybe not just Neanderthal style violence, but we love watching MMA. We love watching people beat each other up. Like that's weird to some people. I noticed that the other day. I was watching Dragunov and Walter on NXT UK for the title. And by the way, one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen. And my wife, halfway through the match, was like, "Why are you enjoying this? This is brutal. I can't watch this anymore. Please stop watching this." And in my head, I'm like, "Oh, look at the chest, look at the chop." I'm freaking out, and she's not having it, and like it made me realize, like, it's not for everyone, this world that we live in, but we got to embrace it. And I embrace it, and I think I also do a good job of controlling myself. I'm not an animal. I'm not out at bars bar fighting people, and I'm not at concerts murdering people and doing crowd killing or however they call it. I just enjoy it. I enjoy that animalistic primal vibration that we all have.
No, that's but it's good that you're in tune with it, and I mean that's it. And fuck, when you mentioned that Dragunov fucking
Ooh.
Walter match, man, it's crazy because you had a lot of the people from Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, the latest incarnation from Indiana, part of the GCW collective, right? But
Yep.
talking to both
You
those
had
guys,
more than I did, by the way, so good for you.
hey, you know what? It's all, and again, that is a thank you to our good friend, the War Master Josh Barnett,
Yeah.
because I said, hey, everyone, and crazy enough, like he did my podcast almost like a month to the day after he did Rogan. So like that is just like again, and
Yeah.
it's just like I love that dude. He's tremendous. He's fucking tremendous. But
Yeah.
uh Killer Kelly and Alexander James, right? That both come from that WSX Germany fucking lineage and everything like that. They're like, yeah, that's it. Those are two people that kind of honed them into the wrestlers they are. So for them to get a shot, especially on NXT UK, and I get shit all the time. My must watch on anything that is like week to week, fucking WWE Network, it is NXT UK. Like Mustache Mountain, that is my favorite fucking tag team right now. Like for sure, like them and Butcher and the Blade. Those are my fucking two teams. That's what
Well,
I love as a podcast. I mean,
Butcher and
a tag team.
Butcher and the Blade is something that I can't. It 2020 feels very surreal to a lot of people, but especially surreal to me because it's kind of like watching my like. I consider Andy a friend, and we connected through music first, but we sat down before he signed the AEW and talked about his dream of wrestling. He's doing local indie shows, and ever since he was a kid, he loved wrestling. And hearing him talk about it, and then like months later, boom, he's on AEW, and I'm like, Jesus, you made it! Like that. I mean, outside of WWE, that's it right now. I'm sorry to Ring of Honor. I'm sorry to Impact, whatever the fuck. Great, you have good shows. Good for you. Keep it going. Keep working on it. But AW is number two. Not Ring of Honor, not Impact. Sorry. So being on AEW, I think is a big deal for Butcher, and I'm really happy for Andy, man. Like that dude writes some of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. His band's music does something to me that to this day I can't explain. I don't mosh much. I used to mosh when I was younger, but even in my older days, like recently, every time I die is on stage and they start performing, like I right before they start playing, I'm standing there like I'm getting ready for a fight. I'm just bouncing, like, whew. And then as soon as they start playing, my body just goes and I just run. I start running into the pit and just pushing people and like, it's the one of the few bands, them and Dillinger Escape Plan. Those are the only two bands that I can get in a pit for and not care about how I come out the other end. I usually end up coming out bleeding, which is great. But I wanted to become friends with him and actually like have him on the show and then hear him about well, I want to be a wrestler, and then I'm doing indie shows and it's gonna be great, and then boom, you're you're in a match with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, dude. Like, whether or not you like Kenny and the Young Bucks, whether or not you're a Cornette fan, and you don't like the flippity flips and the leg slapping, I get it. The leg slaps are annoying. I get it. And Barnett and I talk about this all the time. The this everybody waiting outside, hugging each other so that you can do your flippity flip off of the rope and we all catch you. That's a little bit ridiculous, but I enjoy it because I enjoy acrobatics. I'm like I like the circus too. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see dudes doing crazy athletic things. And it's if it's pro wrestling or not, that's fine. I just enjoy what I'm watching, uh, but to see Andy hit like the stratosphere really of pro wrestling was really exciting to me. and I try to show as much support as I can. I've always on the podcast's Instagram page. I'm always sharing stories of watching AEW, watching the Butcher at work, and trying to show my support because that dude not only does he write incredible music, but he's doing the thing. He's doing the thing.
Yeah, and proving that 2020 doesn't have to be a shit show. It is a shit show for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, but you can still fucking win, man. You can still fucking win at this.
Dude, Andy is in his 40s, man. Uh, and he just started wrestling like professionally on television every week. So yeah, you can do it, man. It gives me hope. It gives me hope because I sit around sometimes like, man, I wish I could get in the ring again, or do a match, or go back to training, and every once in a while I get into the training mode and I start losing weight and getting jacked. Like during April, I started doing kettlebell exercises and I got fucking Brock Lesnar for a minute. Like it was just traps and shoulders, like raw. And then I ended up hurting myself as you do. I ended up getting like what they call golfer's elbow.
Yeah.
So like now my elbow pops and cracks every time I move it. And so now I'm like, I can't go as hard as I was going, but I still want to do it. Still want to do it. So I'm going to start getting stem cell. I got some PRP injections in my neck recently to get my neck back in order. If I can fix my elbow and my knees, I want to go back in. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, fuck yeah. On like Donkey Kong, man. But again,
Yeah.
you're fucking living the dream. But obviously, dude, you've had a lot of people just kind of fucking show love. I mean, so let's get some acknowledgments and shout outs out of the way, my man.
Okay. I am in the current issue of Decibel magazine, which is a huge honor to me. Been a fan of them for a while. That magazine, I love collecting. I used to be one of those kids that collected Spin Mag and Rolling Stones. I had every issue. I had all the Mads and the Cracks and the Nintendo Power. So being in a magazine is really great. So you can pick up Decibel magazine. And you can pick it up on their website. They'll ship it to your house. You can order the individual issue or get a subscription. But there are other places like Barnes and Nobles or Books and Books or whatever that sell magazines that you can find it at. But it did Chris Dodge. Shout out to Chris Dodge, who plays in the band Trappist and is one of the writers at Decibel magazine. He hit me up and was like, "Hey, give me some info on the podcast. We're going to write about you." Like, here you go. And honored to be on there. Honored to have my face printed on a magazine page. I'm an old school dude, so just my face on a piece of paper is exciting to me. So yeah, pick that up if you want. I think it's exciting to see the growth. They also talk about other podcasts that combine beer and metal, like Vox and Hops, which is really great. So check it out and support the scene. Get involved. Now is the time.
Fuck yeah, brother. Fuck yeah. But I mean, it is. I mean, it is time, dude. Before we go,
Yeah.
favorite band.
Oof, dude, why are you doing this? That's rough.
No, but I mean, so it's weird because most people like do the if you were trapped on an island and you could only listen to one. And I mean, I'm
I think I'd
probably
rather kill myself than listen to just one album for the rest of my life.
well. So I've actually narrowed it down, and I've either got so it's I've got three. Right, it would be, and you're gonna probably think I'm lame for it, but like John Mayer, Eric Clapton, Phil Collins. And Phil Collins, you get Genesis, so that's a
You
fucking
are
whammy.
you're the whitest black dude I've ever met.
That's cool. Fuck it. It's cool.
John Mayer,
John
Phil
Mayer, dude.
Collins.
Okay, here's the fucking
What was
thing
the
about
other one?
Mayer. And fucking Eric Clapton. Right? Oh, but
Eric
here's the
Clapton,
fucking
Phil
thing.
Collins,
Here's the thing.
John
Right?
Mayer.
Okay, well, first off, the N word, like for me, you're out. Like to be like any type of media, whatever, or like that kind of throws racial epitaph, like I cannot, I tap out, right? So
Okay.
there's that.
So you don't like hip hop music? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, happened for a while. Happened for a while. Like my
Okay.
love for hip hop fucking died with Tupac and Biggie. What was it,
Oh,
'97, like that? And then I kind of jumped back in a little bit with like 50 Cent. That was like, senior of high
because it's your
school.
birthday and you gotta really not give a fuck because it's your birthday.
Birthday. I had phases, but at the same time, I was listening to fucking Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park and Trapped and Thrice. So there's that.
Trapped, dude. Hell yeah. Murica. Fuck
What?
yeah.
You know what? Stork. Oh, dude, the fucking chugging that happens in what is it? The fucking Echo. Echo is like a sonic fucking masterpiece that a lot of people fucking go give credit for. Oh, you can shit on me all you want. It's fine.
No. I'm not shitting on you, dude. It's fine. It's good. I'm talking shit. Okay, so I can't give you my favorite band. I can give you a top five, maybe, and even then, it's like it varies on my mood as well. But like I gotta say, Deftones is up there, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know those people and those dudes and their whole crew and team and hang out with them, and be able to see the show. Like I went from I've seen Deftones live a good 30 or 40 times, and I went from being in the pit like a little kid jumping around getting hurt to watching the show on stage, hanging out with Abe and Frank and Steph and just being friends with those dudes. So it's like a whole life story with the Deftones for me. Like I know a lot of people don't like them, or maybe they're just like, oh, I don't like the singing, or I don't like the whatever. I don't care. They're to me one of the top five, just musically and also just friendship wise. I think it's great. Killswitch is up there as well. Same thing. We've become friends, and they make great music. Mastodon, same thing. Where I started off as a super fanboy, and now I'm friends with the band and hang out with them. So that's really cool. Let's see. Tool, I guess, has to be up there, even though you know there's that mentality of like, okay, boomer, we get it. You like Tool, fine. I don't care. Tool's up there, and shit, Nine Inch Nails.
Oh,
I'm literally looking at my records that are right here next to me.
okay.
Yeah, and I have like the IKEA thing where you have the squares. So I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
all my records in there, but in the front I'll have my favorite ones of that because it's alphabetized because I'm a dork. So my favorite one of that section of the alphabet goes in the front, and I have Deftones, Mastodon, Tool, Nine Inch Nails, and Killswitch Engage. So, and Ghost is there too, but I guess Ghost is up there. I like Ghost. A lot of
Yeah.
people hate on them, but I like them.
Oh no, man. I that's one of the fucking things with like the quarantine or something fucking happening. But they played the Forum, and I grew up in Inglewood. And I had my high school commencement ceremony at the Forum, and to see fucking Ghost headline. I don't know why the fuck I missed it, but like that was it. Like fuck, man. Like
Yeah,
I should have done it. But yeah, I mean, if you love like you know Kiss and you fucking Slipknot and shit like that.
King
Like
Diamond,
that's yeah, King Diamond. Fuck yeah,
Merciful
Alice
Fate.
Cooper. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need like. How could you not like Ghosts? That's just my fucking take.
Yeah, people get mad because like, oh, they're just doing the same thing that other people have done. I'm like, no, they're not. They have face paint, but it's a different thing. Like they're going for the full church imagery, which I'm a fan of because I grew up as a Catholic in private schools and eventually broke off of that. I'm not Catholic at all. I don't practice it, but I have an appreciation for the artwork, and I love going to old churches. Like if I go to Europe, the first thing I'm going to do is find a 500-year-old church to go hang out in because they have crazy architecture and crazy artwork. And I went to a church in Spain that underground they had just pits of skeletons, and like, hey, that's freaky. This is like hell on earth, and you guys are just it's in your church. And so I love that. I think it's interesting. Ghost does the church thing. The music is good. It falls in that like category of like classic rock almost, like Blue Oyster Cult and Merciful Fate. Like I don't know. I don't get the hate. I maybe because they got bought out by Sony and people would just hate when other people make more money than them. And that might be a thing. But
Yeah,
I think Ghost is great.
I fucking do too, man. But also one thing that is fucking great is the Rock and Roll Beer podcast. So fucking a, dude. For those who don't know, please enlighten people where to find all things you and Rock and Roll Beer Guy fucking podcast.
Yeah, dude. Go to RRBG podcast. That means Rock and Roll Beer Guy. RRBG. You can look for Rock and Roll Beer Guy, or you can look for RRBG podcast. RRBGpodcast.com, at RRBG podcast on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and Twitch. And I'm trying to keep things going and making interesting episodes. The most recent one is the one with Jesse Hughes from Eagles of Death Metal, where I went to his house. Halfway through the episode, his cat knocks over a PA speaker into his TV set, which causes like a break on the, like, what the like, we're talking and just like you hear shit crashing all around us, and we stop for a second, and it's just a wild episode. He talks about Steven Spielberg being a pedophile and how ET is the story of a man loving with a child. It's a fun one to listen to. Matt Pinfield episodes up as well. We talk about 120 minutes and all the old stuff was into, and it's so fucking weird to me to look at my phone these days and just I have text messages back to back text messages from Matt Pinfield, DJ Lethal. I'm talking to Peanut from 311 and Tony Hinchcliffe, and we're just kind of like trying to coordinate. I'm trying to make shit happen with Pinfield and them at the Comedy Store. So keep an eye out for that. I had also recently Frank Castillo, who's a paid regular at the Comedy Store on the podcast. He's been prominently featured in the Comedy Store documentary that's in Showtime. Watch it. There's 5 episodes. You'll see me in the background, like walking around, because there's just a lot of that was filmed while I was there. So there's that whole scene where they're on the roof with Rogan and Jay Leno and Paul Rodriguez and Quigley, and while they were filming that, I was downstairs, and then Jay Leno leaves in his motorcycle and almost runs me and Tony Hinchcliffe over on the way out. It was the most ridiculous fucking night of my life. But keep an eye out for that documentary. Watch it, all 5 episodes. Keep an eye out for more projects that I'm working on. I'm talking to Frank about doing a music podcast. I'm talking to Barnett about the beer. I'm talking to just trying to make shit happen. I want a TV show. Go to our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG and help me out. Anything you can do to help us out to make more shit. That's it. All it is. I'm not trying to buy fancy cars, and I just want to make more shit for you. So help me out.
Fuck yeah, I love it. And you know what? The thing that I love, because I did watch the fucking documentary of the Comedy Store, the fact that in episode 2, during the writer's strike, that Jay Leno fucking lays dead dick in the dirt, as like somebody hits him, and then
Yep.
all these years later, he fucking hits you in Hinchcliffe. So I think that's hilarious. It's fucking tremendous. But
Yeah,
that is
man.
a fucking cool life. That is Eddy Torres. Dude, thank you for fucking jumping on this. Like, this has
Of
been
course.
fucking fun. And again, subscribe to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy fucking podcast. But also, you might want to consider fucking checking me out. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't take my word for it, Eddy, you're subscribed, right?
Yes, I am. Subscribe right now to According to Woods, man. It's one of the best shows. You get all the MMA fighters. You got people like myself that definitely are not on the same caliber as some of these MMA fighters that you have on. But I appreciate you inviting me to the show, man. It's a fun time every time. So anytime I'm down. Let's do it.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I've got some things percolating, but again, fucking thank you for doing this. But yeah, don't just take my word for it. Don't just Eddy's fucking word for it. I mean, maybe here's Zeta Zhang to convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang.